It takes just 224 words. The foundational cornerstones of the Catholic Church can be recited in, well, basically just a few breaths. And it is recited every Sunday at Mass. It's called the Nicene Creed after the Church wrote the document in 325 AD at the First Council of Nicaea. And you think a belief system that is 1/20th of what the original U.S. Constitution, when it comes to words, well, you would think deciphering that document would be somewhat simple. But centuries have shown us otherwise, including this week when Pope Francis announced his support for blessing same-sex couples. That document, translated into English, uses nearly 5,000 words to explain it. And that term, blessing, is carrying a lot of weight with those words. For example, the Doctrine Office says the blessing should not be mistaken for the holy sacrament of marriage. So this document is coded in nuance. But for some Catholics, as Andrew Bartlein learned, there's nothing nuanced about it.
The template of any Catholic parish follows a formula.
It is a universal church.
The pews, wooden. The ceilings, high. The glass, stained.
The same globally, no matter what.
Which makes this house of God right at home.
I'm trying to think.
For Alex Street.
Where am I going with that?
But these days, he's going here. The Cathedral of the Rockies.
You would never find that at any Catholic church in this state.
Favoring universal in favor of Catholic.
You know, I'm sitting in a Methodist church.
It's his latest chapter in a lifelong pursuit to follow Christ.
I don't think of myself as ever having left the Catholic Church. Like, I'm not going to say that I'm fully Methodist. I work at a Methodist church.
But Alex will say who he fully supports. A former Catholic youth minister leading the largest group in the state.
The message that I always told them was, you are loved exactly as you are, because that's what God says.
This week, that's what Pope Francis said. Vatican City published a document allowing priests to bless same-sex couples. Granted, the blessing is not confused with the holy sacrament of marriage.
How do we become a culture of encounter?
Monsignor Joseph De Silva spent decades at his parish.
I did.
And he says this change took years.
Well, dramatic, meaning it's been coming since the Second Vatican Council, which spoke about the joys and struggles of the world are the joys and struggles of the church.
A culture of encounter. Practically, it creates a system of protection. Any priest who wants to give a same-sex couple blessing cannot be stopped by higher-ups.
People who might have been hesitant, afraid to do something like this or even speak about it because of fear of censure, I don't think they have to worry about that.
How do you feel about this decision?
Well, anything that enhances a person's life and makes them feel they're valued or welcomed. I mean, that's the big thing.
Steps toward all, meaning all.
You shared that message.
Yes.
You were punished for that.
Yeah. Or at least I was saying it in a way that that leadership was very uncomfortable with.
A local Catholic parish fired Alex from youth ministry for publicly supporting the LGBTQ community. A message of antithesis to the universal.
I think it's just the fastest growing religion in the world is I used to be Christian of any kind.
Youth ministers spend their lives trying to connect with kids and their cultures.
My Catholic roots still run very deep.
And Alex Street says, for some, there's no secret to the formula.
While I am celebrating with the people who are celebrating what the Pope put out, at the same time that it feels like just such an incremental step toward what is actually just and what is actually called for by Jesus and Scripture.
We reached out to the Catholic Diocese of Boise, mostly to get their take on this recent announcement from Pope Francis, to understand their interpretation of the blessing and how it would be carried out in Idaho if somebody asked for it and a priest was interested in that, Brian. And we did not hear back from the diocese in our request. Tried to reach out a couple different ways, but appreciate Monsignor De Silva for helping us understand it. As he kind of fills in on weekends sometimes, but he's not like an active parish priest anymore.
Well, and it doesn't sound like Alex, with this week's doctrine, that he would be rushing back to the Catholic Church to say, okay, all is forgiven, if you would say it that way.
In terms of working in a Catholic church, it seems that he's not rushing back, but he says like he doesn't consider himself an ex-Catholic. Like if he walked into a Catholic church, he feels like he personally would feel at home there, but as things have shaken out. Of course, what he experienced professionally working with one, being removed from his position. You know, kind of the conversation we had was he believed that you can love people who are gay and be Catholic. And he didn't need the Pope to tell him that, to know that. And it seemed that he lost his job over it previously for saying that before this instance.
And I wonder if the Boise Diocese saying nothing today is kind of a way of, well, saying something about it.
We'll see if we hear back.
All right. Thank you very much, Andrew.